Hey book nerds, it's Sarah and welcome back to my channel. Hey book nerds, it's Sarah and welcome back to my channel. Hey book nerds, it's Sarah and welcome back to my channel. Hey book nerds, it's Sarah and welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be a weekend reading vlog, and I'm saying weekend reading vlog because it is officially Friday. It is currently 1 a.m. Don't ask me why I'm starting a reading vlog at 1 a.m. But I fell asleep accidentally after dinner and I just woke up. So in order to get me tired again, I decided I wanted to sit down and read. And I haven't had the urge to read for a really long time. And this past week I've gotten into reading and I actually finished a book, and I'm also on my way to completing a second one, so that feels really nice. And since I'm getting back into reading, I wanted to start up the reading vlogs again. So obviously this always happens to me, my camera battery is flashing, so I'm gonna hurry up with this intro and then plug you into charge, and I'm gonna go read while you're doing that. But I recently finished A Sliver of Darkness by CJ Tudor. If you guys have watched recent videos, you know that I have been reading this for quite a while. So these two books that I'm currently reading are actually this one that I just finished, and the other book that I'm currently reading I've been reading for a while now. I started them I think at the end of October, beginning of November, but I haven't read since because I've kind of been depressed lately, and it's also one of the reasons why I've been absent from YouTube, because at the beginning of November our dog Mia got really sick and she didn't get better, and at the end of the month of November we had to put her to sleep. So we said goodbye to our beloved baby that you guys have seen a couple of times on the channel before. She was 10 years old. We've had her since she was, I think, 2 months old, so I've had her since I was 15, and saying goodbye was one of the hardest things I have ever had to do in my life, one of the hardest things I have ever lived through. And since her passing I have been pretty depressed, pretty anxious, and for that reason I haven't wanted to read anything since then. And I'm recently coming out of my little bout of depression, I guess, and the urge to read finally came back, so I'm rolling with it. So like I mentioned, I read this, I was 2 stories in initially, so 70 pages, and I flew through the rest of it in like a day and a half, so that felt really nice to finally finish a book. And the next book that I'm currently reading is Tempted by PC Cast and Kristen Cast, which is book 6 in the House of Night series. I'm currently on page 184, so I have maybe a third of the book that's left, and this is also another book that I started in 2022 and I haven't finished. If you guys remember my fall reading plans video, I mentioned that I wanted to reread the full House of Night series. I included Marked in that fall TBR video, which is book 1, because, funny story, I own all 12 books of the series, but I never read the last one, and I tried so many times to pick the series back up to finally actually finish it. And I think I'm on like my 3rd or 4th reread of this, and I still haven't made it to book 12. This year I'm changing that, or rather I started this project last year, but I'm changing it. I'm gonna finally read the last book. So with this one I am halfway through, and I plan on finishing this tomorrow, I think, because realistically, like, it's 1 a.m. and I'm gonna try to go back to sleep soon, so I don't think I'm going to binge the other like 125 pages that there's left of this. So that's the gist of it. Very quick intro, because otherwise you're gonna die and I'm gonna lose this whole intro, and a part of that was really hard to film and to share, so hopefully I don't have to do that again. So I'm gonna go plug you in, I'm gonna go read, and I'll update you guys later. So I clearly haven't seen the time go by, because it's now 2:45 a.m. and obviously I'm still awake, I'm still reading, and I'm not in bed, which I probably should be, but weirdly I'm still not tired. So I've been reading and I have like 50 pages, maybe less. Yeah, I have about 50 pages left, And I'm really enjoying this book series. I am really happy that I decided to start a reread of this because this is one of the series that got me into reading when I was a teenager. And when I first started reading this series, I think only books 1 to 9 were released. I think I started reading this when books 10, 11, and 12 weren't out yet. And me rereading this is bringing back a lot of nostalgia, a lot of memories from my teenage years. And one thing I really like about this book series is that they read really easy and they read really quickly. The writing style is simple and it is dated. Like, I'm not quite sure, but I think the first one was published in like 2003 or 2002, because this is book 6 and on the inside it says that it was first published in 2009. So these books are over 2 decades old for some of them. And one thing I noticed with reading YA that was published, like I said, nearly over 2 decades ago, and reading YA that has been published recently, I feel like authors' writing style has changed. Some of the authors that I read from who have published books like back in the early 2000s and who are still currently publishing books, like for example Cassandra Clare with her Shadowhunters series that is always evolving and she's always publishing more books in that series. I feel like her writing style kind of stays the same for the most part, but I feel like there's a sophistication to it. It doesn't seem quite as childish as her original books were, like the early books in the Mortal Instruments series. And I am definitely noticing this with the House of Night series as well. I feel like when YA was emerging in popularity in like the early 2000s, the writing style was a lot more childish because I feel like authors really targeted the, YA audience, so like preteens and teenagers. And that brings me to the writing style of like current YA publications. It is known that adults will read YA into like their 30s and their 40s, and I feel like the writing style in YA that is being published now kind of takes that into account. It is a lot more friendly, it's less childish, and like I said, I'm definitely noticing this while comparing the writing style from the Marked series to like any other YA that I've read that has been published recently. Sometimes the themes can be a little bit more juvenile, but that is because it is a YA publication and meant for younger audiences. But like I said, anyone from any age can read them now and not feel like bored or feel like it's too childish or too immature for them in regards to the writing style and the content. So that's like an interesting thing that I noticed when rereading this. So when I reread books now that have been published like years and years and years ago, I try to keep that in mind, that the writing style might be a little finicky, that the writing style might be childish and immature, but that's just how the writing style for YA was back then. So yes, sometimes the writing is cringy and sometimes it does feel childish to me, but I try not to let that hinder my reading experience because this was the norm for when this was first published, and I am enjoying this book series for what it is. It is meant to be light sometimes and heavier sometimes and deal with normal teenage topics like boyfriend drama, like best friend drama, and it's still entertaining even though like I am kind of way past the age that this book was originally targeting when it was first published. So all I'm saying is that if you guys read books that were published, let's say maybe before like 2014 even, I would say, keep that in mind because the writing style of YA authors nowadays has evolved to consider the fact that not only people of young adult age read young adult books, and I think that's really cool because it makes it accessible for anyone to read, and anyone really can enjoy a YA book. It just has in its nature some lighter themes. Sometimes it can have more hard-hitting topics, but it's not as graphic or explicit or hard on your emotions as adult books are. And I'm saying that for the most part because some YA books do touch on like really sensitive topics like sexuality, like racism and ableism, and all of those other subjects that are kind of like current in social events with these last few years. So some of them do touch on those topics because it's important to talk about them. And it's also really good that authors target these important subjects and deliver them to an audience who are emerging adults and who are in the middle of a bunch of questions regarding their own life, their own purpose, their own sexuality, and etc., etc. So I find that the way YA lit has evolved is really cool and also really important, and I love that it has become more accessible. The more that I'm rereading these old favorites that were published when I was a lot younger makes me realize all of these things. And I think it's a very interesting thought process too when you think about it. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have noticed this when rereading old favorites that were published like a long time ago versus reading like YA that was published recently. I have noticed it definitely, and I want to know if you guys have too. I feel like this was an interesting segment for me to film and discuss with you guys in this vlog. It's also like a weird tangent, and I probably ranted for way too long and repeated myself way too much, but I still find it interesting to have like this thought process, and I find it funny that I'm having this thought process at like literally 3 in the morning. But anyway, so all that to say that I am 50 pages from the end, and I don't know if I'm going to finish this tonight because I am starting to get tired finally, and I have stuff to do tomorrow before going to work. And I actually want to be able to get up at a reasonable hour and not waste my day before I have to go into work. So tomorrow I'm working from 4 p.m. until midnight, and I am working the chat service, so I will definitely be able to read. I also have some studying to do because I do not want to get behind on my semester. It has just started. We're on week 3. Next week is going to be week 4, and I do not want to get behind at all. I want to stay on top of my studying as much as I can, and I feel like this is going to be a challenge for me in the coming days / coming weeks to find a balance between my reading and my studies. I feel like I am more in the mood to read at night or like in the evening, so it might become a part of like my nightly routine. Like I will set myself like a set period of time that I will read before bed, and hopefully that will help me relax enough to fall asleep, because I have been having some issues lately with like insomnia and falling asleep super late, and that's kind of like a pain in the butt right now. I'm also thinking that this might have something to do with like the depression that I am coming out of, because when I was in the thick of it, I was sleeping all the time because it was a form of escapism for me. So I think I'm just struggling to get back to like a normal schedule. My body is all messed up because for weeks on end I would just sleep, I would work, and then I would sleep. That's literally it. I didn't have the energy to read. I would put some videos on YouTube, or I would put a TV show on and I would fall asleep to that, and I would sleep for I don't know how many hours a day. Too many hours. With that being said, I think I'm going to finish the chapter that I'm currently reading because I stopped to talk to you guys in the middle of a chapter. So I think I'm going to finish that chapter, put this book down, and try and get some sleep. Good afternoon. So I played myself really hard yesterday. So I thought that I was working from 4 p.m. until midnight, but I had totally forgotten that my schedule changed for today because there weren't enough people in the day shift to cover the needs of the service, and there were more people in the evening shift than there was in the day shift. So my shift got changed last week and I totally forgot about it. So I ended up going to bed at 4 a.m. because I lied to y'all. I said I was reading one last chapter and then putting the book down, but I had like 40 pages left by that point, so I just finished the book. So I went to sleep at 4 a.m. or like more like 4:30. And I get woken up this morning by my colleague who's calling me and who's like, yeah, are you coming in? Like, when are you getting here? And I was like, oh shit, I completely forgot that my shift had changed. So in order for me not to be even more late, I was granted permission to work from home, which is what I'm currently doing. So I'm currently working until 4, and I started working at 8:30. So normally I would get to work around 7:30 in the morning for a day shift, and I would log on at 7:45. So I mean, it wasn't too bad. I do feel a little bad that like it completely slipped my mind. So yeah, I completely unknowingly sabotaged myself last night. So I'm currently working, running on 4 hours of sleep, which is why I have this bad boy right here. So yeah, that's how my morning went. But anyways, I finished a book. I finished Tempted. I gave it 3.75 or 4 stars. I think on Goodreads I gave it 4, but I'm trying out Storygraph for the first time this year, and you can give like quarter measures for stars, so I think I'm giving it 3.75. I'm still thinking about it, not quite sure, but it was very enjoyable. If you guys remember like that whole tangent I went off last night, like I appreciated it for what it is. It's a nostalgic read, and I'm trying to plow through the series to finally read the last book and cross that off for good off of my TBR. So with that being said, I'm going to show you guys the books that I'm hoping on starting. So the first one is obviously the sequel to Tempted, which is Burned, book number 7, and this is a book that I think I'm going to slowly make my way through because there are other books that I want to read. So this is kind of the book that I'm gonna have like on the back burner, I guess. So there's this one, and later I really want to start an audiobook because I haven't listened to an audiobook for a really long time. And last night I also talked to you guys about the book club that my book bestie and I are starting together. So the first book that we're going to be reading together for this book club this year is The Change by Kirsten Miller, and Scribd has the audiobook there. So I think I'm going to start it via audio and probably read some of it physically as well because it's a floppy paperback, and I am really in the mood for physical reads as of right now with like me getting into reading. So I feel like having an audiobook will be good for like when I'm on car rides driving to work and stuff like that. And I'm also going to, like I said, probably read some of this physically as well. There are also a couple of other books that I am currently considering for my other physical read along with Burned, and I have so many options, you guys. I'm kind of confused as to like which one I should start. I have 5 Survive by Holly Jackson that I really want to read. I also have 9 Liars by Maureen Johnson that I also really want to read. And there are just so many other books on my TBR that I really want to get to, like The Other People by CJ Tudor. I'm really in the mood for more CJ Tudor after reading her short story collection. And I just have books upon books that I could literally read, and I'm very confused as to which one I should choose. But for right now, I have these 2 that are definite yeses for my TBR. And since I'm getting back into reading, I am very much mood reading. I'm not like setting myself a specific TBR apart from like the books that I want to read with my book bestie for our book club. So I'm really going off of feeling. I'm really going off of what I'm in the mood for. And I feel like for right now, I am still in like a thriller / horror mood after reading the CJ Tudor short story collection, and I'm possibly also in kind of like a fantasy / vampire mood. So I just don't know what I'm going to read alongside those two books that I just showed you. So I'm going to keep thinking about that. I am currently, like I said, working, and I am going to probably try and get some reading done in between counseling sessions, and I also have some studying to do, so I want to do that as well. And yeah, so I just wanted to give you guys an update that I finished the book. I am now currently 2 books in to my 2023 reading challenge. I had a really late start, but things are picking up, hopefully. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some work done, and I will update you guys probably later in the afternoon. So same angle-ish, different time of day. It is 2:45 p.m. and I just finished an hour-and-a-half long counseling session. So I took a break and I'm about to hop back on to the chat service, but I just wanted to talk to you guys really quickly because I decided on the next read that I'm gonna be reading, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it because I'm super excited. And I mentioned to you guys earlier how I am on a CJ Tudor reading kick, so I decided that I'm going to start The Other People, and this is a book about this man named Gabe who had his daughter, I do not remember her name, Izzy. His 5-year-old daughter Izzy was kidnapped. So at the time of the story, it is 3 years later after the kidnapping of his 5-year-old daughter. Everyone, including the police, believes that she is dead, but one day they find the car that drove away with Izzy, and they find it abandoned with a body in the trunk. I don't know if this body is little Izzy's or not, but I'm guessing we're gonna find out. And it also mentions that Gabe has kind of like a mysterious and dark past that he has to confront because elements of his past are starting to surface because they have a link with what happened to his daughter. So that is the first element of the story. We also have another main character named Fran, and she has a daughter named Alice. So Fran and Alice are on the run because they are in danger of being killed because they know information about who took Izzy, who is Gabe's daughter, our other main character, and they have to run away because of what they know they could possibly be killed. And to tie the whole thing together, they come into contact with this organization called The Other People, who are there to help people who are victims of crimes get retribution and justice when the police system has failed them. So on the back it says, "Why are you called The Other People? We are people just like you, people to whom terrible things have happened. We found solace not in forgiveness or forgetting, but in helping each other find justice." What sort of justice? That depends on the individual, but our first ethos is a punishment that fits the crime. I probably butchered that word. And the last question is, can I request to have someone killed? Answer, if your request is acceptable and unless there are exceptional circumstances, we fulfill all requests. So I am assuming that the organization, The Other People, I have two theories. Either one, Gabe is going to request their help in order to figure out what happened to his daughter, and we also have Fran who's going to be in the mix because she's going to need the other people's protection. Or someone requested that Gabe's daughter be taken as retribution for whatever happened in his past, and the other people fulfilled that kidnapping, and Fran is possibly related to the person who is, you know, part of the other people and who did the actual kidnapping. So those are like my two working theories right now, and I'm so excited to dive into this because I love any books with like a cult mentality or with like anything related to a secret society, or also anything that's like a crime ring, kind of like The Chain by Adrian McGinty. I love that book. So this concept sounds so fascinating to me, and I've been wanting to read this for the longest time. And like I said, CJ Tudor is one of my auto-buy favorite all-time authors. I will literally read anything she publishes, and I have been on a kick of her writing recently, and I purchased this book I think a year or two ago and I still haven't gotten to it, so this is the year that I am fixing that mistake. So this is going to be the second physical book that I'm going to dive into, or technically the third if you count like the times when I'm going to physically read The Change. So these are the books that I'm going to be reading in the next few days slash next week or two. Probably ambitious to have 3 books. However, when I get in a reading mood, when I'm in a reading kick, I can read for like maybe 2-3 hours in the evening / at night, and I can easily, when I'm like in the zone, read about 100 pages per hour, but usually my average is about 75, so I feel like it can go quickly, and usually thrillers are also fast-paced, so that helps. And also I'm rereading a book that I've already read like 3 times before, and the House of Night books are very easy reads, like any of the other old nostalgia books that I've been reading recently. So I feel like the one that's going to be like the most taxing on me mentally is The Change, because, oh, my bookmark fell out, because of one, the size. It's 450 pages. I'm trying to find the words to describe this genre, but it's kind of like a mix of genres. It's kind of like dystopian with magical realism, I think. I could be completely wrong describing this, but if you guys want to see like me describe what this book is about, I will leave the book haul that this was featured in the bar suggestion thing above my head. So anyways, that was kind of like a reading update to tell you guys that I chose my TBR for the next few days. I'm going to start one of these books later, don't know which one. Probably gonna be The Other People, because it's really drawing me to it right now. But I am going to go back to work, and I will talk to you guys a little bit later when I've actually read something. Please excuse the poor video quality, but I'm currently at work and I forgot to bring my camera, and I knew that I was gonna be alone in the office tonight. Like, there is literally nobody else here. I am by myself, and it would have been a perfect vlogging opportunity. But like I said, I forgot my camera. This is actually like bringing back some very old memories of my early YouTube days where I only filmed on my phone, and now I have a legit camera. Anywho, I just wanted to pop on here really quickly because I am going to start The Other People, and it's currently Monday, and oh my god, teams, be quiet. It's currently Monday, and I decided that since I started the vlog, I think last Thursday or last Friday, I think I'm just going to make this like a weekly vlog. I didn't have time to vlog this weekend because I was working, and yesterday it was a very intense day at work, like very much intense. And I got home and I was so exhausted, and we've been in the midst of multiple snowstorms recently, and we had another one this weekend that started yesterday and continued on today. So driving to work, the roads were terrible, so I didn't want to listen to an audiobook just in case like it distracted me. And on the way back, same thing, the roads were horrible when I left work at midnight. I just didn't get any reading done like on Saturday and Sunday, but like so far I did finish like the one book that I had started like a really long time ago, which was Tempted. But yes, so currently at work, it's 9:30. I finish at midnight, and I think I want to start The Other People by CJ Tudor, and I kind of wanted to vlog me reacting to like the beginning of the book and just chatting to you guys about my weekend. And I didn't want to wait until I got home at midnight because I am probably going to be exhausted, because like I said, the snowstorm has continued, so the roads are probably going to be just as bad coming home from work tonight. So that's what the situation currently is. That's what my life currently is. It does make for really cozy reading weather though, so that's the positive thing. But yeah, so at work with my phone because I forgot my camera, and I'm going to read this now. So I'm gonna start it, and I will update you guys once I've gotten like a couple of chapters in with like initial thoughts and stuff like that. So I'll talk to you guys later. this angle sucks, but I don't have my real camera, so this is what we're working with. Okay.
Give me a lunch.
Come here. So this is typically Canadian. Look what my coworker just brought me.
Oh, who's that?
No one. It's because I have a YouTube channel.
No way.
Yeah.
Sup, YouTube.
Hold on, do that again.
Sup, YouTube.
So this is my coworker Emily, who is another one of my friends. She's a lovely peach, and she brought Timbits, which is a love language if you're Canadian. So it interrupted my reading, but for a good reason. So I'll check back in with you guys later. Hello from my bed. So it's nearly 1 a.m. and I just got home from work. I am exhausted. And my initial plan was to come home and read more of The Other People. At work, I only managed to get through like a chapter, and just after the clip that you guys just saw of me with my coworker, I got a counseling session that lasted like nearly 2 hours. It lasted the whole rest of my entire shift, so I didn't get the chance to read more than a chapter of The Other People, and my initial plan was to pick up the book and read for a little while before going to bed when I got home. And as I mentioned earlier, or predicted rather, the roads are in fact very bad, and it took me like all of my remaining energy to stay focused, stay in the lanes, and not like drift everywhere on the highway on the way home. So I'm pretty exhausted, so I'm going to leave the reading of The Other People to tomorrow, but I am glad I picked up the camera to talk to you guys and update you guys on like my weekend and such. So today's vlogging wasn't a total fail, but as I said, it's nearly 1 a.m. so I'm going to just grab a quick snack and then most likely head to bed. If I'm unable to fall asleep, I might listen to the audiobook of The Change. I really need to start that, as I also told you guys, my friend Amira and I are buddy reading that book. It was supposed to be a January book, but up until last week, I have been in a reading slump. So I'm very late getting to it, and I really want to, you know, read it as soon as possible. So I'm going to possibly start the audiobook tonight if like I have trouble falling asleep and I need something to kind of calm me down before, you know, I try to go to sleep. So tomorrow is Tuesday. I have class at 4 p.m. but depending on if the storm persists, if the roads are really bad, I probably won't go, because if it's too dangerous, I just don't want to take the chance. So we'll see if I do end up going tomorrow. It'll probably be like my class on Wednesday that I end up not going to. It depends on the weather, because like, yes, class is important and all, and I really want to go to my classes. I feel like it helps me, well, I mean, obviously it helps me get better grades, like actually attending the class. But if it's like too dangerous outside, I don't want to risk it. Like, I can always ask someone else for their notes or something. So I'm going to wait and see what the weather's like. And yeah, so my day tomorrow is kind of not really planned. I have some studying that I want to do, but like depending on what time I wake up at, probably won't have time to do those things before class if I do end up going. So like I said, I'm going to update you guys tomorrow. Anyways, that was just like the update. Got home, planned on reading. That's not gonna happen because I'm exhausted. But yeah, so that's it. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, and I'm really excited for this upcoming week. Hopefully I'll be able to get like most of my shit done. Like, I have some laundry to fold, I have to study, and I obviously want to read. Hopefully this week I'll be able to finish a book or two. Two's probably pushing it, but hopefully I'll be able to finish a book. So it's Wednesday, it's 10:40, and by the amount of times that I've tried to film this clip, you'd think it was a lot later, but it's not. So I just wanted to pop on here to give you guys a reading update. I started The Change by Kristen Miller. I am 77 pages in, so this is kind of what the progress looks like so far, and I am listening to it for now via audiobook. So just very quickly, I'm going to tell you guys what the story is about. So we have three main characters, Harriet, Jo, and Nessa. All three of these women have some really cool and unique powers that have kind of surfaced when they went through menopause, all but Nessa, and I'll come back to her in a minute. So for Harriet, she has kind of like an affinity with plants. She basically kind of has like this magic green thumb. And then we have Jo, who is super strong and who can channel heat into the palms of her hands. And we have Nessa, who can see and speak to the dead. And earlier I mentioned that the case was different with Nessa because she could actually see them ever since she was 12 years old. But throughout her life, as she came into womanhood with like her period and then getting married and having kids, the spirits and the voices kind of faded away. But once she reached menopause, she was able to come into contact with the spirits again. So that's kind of why it's a little bit different for Nessa. So the premise of this book is that all three of the main characters kind of group up after meeting and figuring out that they all live within the same community. And they team up because Nessa is seeing and hearing the spirit of a girl who died, and they want to try and find her body and bring the person, most likely the man who did this to her, to justice. So I really like the concept of this book, and I also like, for the most part, how this is written. She is kind of transforming the female experience of getting your period and then going through each one of your cycles and then having kids and then going through menopause in a very, very beautiful way. There are just some snippets in here so far that are very aggressively feminist, and I'm not saying this as like, oh, I'm not a feminist, because I mean, I'm a woman, of course I'm a feminist. But sometimes I think that the writing in this book kind of takes the cause too far. And everyone knows that true feminism is wanting women be equal to men in every single regard, right? There are some extreme forms of feminism that kind of hold women to a very, very high standard compared to men, and they kind of situate us above them, and they tell us that we are the superior gender, and that, you know, blah, 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 and that women should rule over everything. And there's kind of like a term for this, but I don't want to say it because it's kind of very derogatory, and it also has a connection with just something bad that happened in history in general, so I'm not going to say that term, but it's an extreme form of feminism. I'm really worried that the author is going to, at some point, try to cram this extreme form of feminism down our throats as a reader. Like I said, I am all for reading books by female authors that talk about the female experience and that kind of shed light on the female experience, and who turns it into something beautiful that makes us feel magical, that makes us feel empowered and powerful. And I love these subjects, and I love that there are more of them in the media, not just in literature, in music, in different forms of art, in movies, in TV shows. Like, the best example of this I can come up with right now is the release of the new Miley Cyrus song, Flowers. It is such an empowering experience, and the message in that song is very much what every young woman and young girl needs to hear and wants to hear. It empowers us and all of that stuff. So I am all for art and any form of media that tries to deliver a message that we are here, we are strong, we are equal, we matter, we deserve our place in society. I do not agree, however, when those messages are taken out of context to put us above other people as a gender. And that's what I'm worried is going to happen with this book, because a few times, a few of the sentences that were said by the characters or thought by the characters in this book were just a little too extreme, like on the spectrum of like what healthy feminism is, all the way to the extreme feminism. Like we're getting close to this side of the spectrum. So that's what I'm worried about. I'm having a really hard time putting my thoughts into words, because obviously this is going to end up on the internet where everyone can see, and I feel like no matter how I word my opinion, there's always going to be somebody that's going to be like, oh, you're a bad feminist, or you're this, or you're that. And I'm trying to formulate it in a way to get my point across and not seem like I'm contradicting myself, which sometimes is very hard to do. But that is just my personal belief, that you can be a feminist without putting the whole entire opposing gender down. So that's kind of how I view feminism, as in us as women, we want to be equal in all regards to men and not be considered superior to them. And I feel like this book is doing exactly the opposite, which I'm scared about. And I will keep you updated on this. If you guys have any thoughts about what I just said, feel free to leave them in the comments, but please, like, be respectful. We can have like a very intellectual, entertaining conversation without being disrespectful to each other. I might have some views that are different to yours. It's definitely possible. I mean, there are so many belief systems in the world that it's normal to have, you know, opposing opinions, and that's what kind of makes the world go round, and what makes life so interesting is that there are so many different points of views available to us out there. And that's also another fun part of being on this planet, is that we have the freedom to choose what we believe in. So I don't know if you guys are going to agree with me on this, but those are just my thoughts about the topic in general that kind of justify my feelings that I am feeling at this moment towards this book. And I'm hoping that it's not going to be a recurring theme. I hope it's not going to be something that like lasts the whole entire book. And this is why I love reading vlogs, because especially when we have a book that touches on sensitive subjects or has a different writing style, or that is or could be controversial in some way, it's fun for me as well, and not only for you as an audience, but it's fun for me making this video to kind of document my thought process and just my live feelings, like in the moment, what I'm thinking and feeling when I am talking about my feelings on the spot, instead of doing a book review that I have scripted and thought out and well planned. Like, I feel that what happens in a reading vlog is really like your inner thoughts and your inner feelings on the spot as they occur, as they surface. So that's what I like about reading vlogs. That's why they appeal to me, because I feel like the feelings and the thoughts and what we say about a book that we are currently reading or have just finished are a lot more authentic and real. This is why I love doing reading vlogs, and this is why I love reading books like this, because they do make you think and they do make you have an opinion, and especially when they pertain to certain social issues. So all of that just to say that it's totally fine if you disagree with me. If you have read this, let me know in the comments down below what your view on the whole feminism thing with this book was, because I am interested in this book. Like, the premise sounds really, really good, but it's just the writing style that I am concerned will taint my reading experience of the story. So that's where I'm at with this book. I will give you an update when I keep reading more of it. I'm currently having a snack of some ice cream and listening to the audiobook, so I'm gonna go do that, and I'm gonna charge my camera, and I'll talk to you guys later. So it's Monday, it's the start of a new week, and I have taken the executive decision for this reading vlog to go on longer. And the reason for that is I'm just getting back into reading, so it's kind of unrealistic of me to kind of assume that I'm going to get straight back into like my normal reading routine and read a lot every single week. So I thought that the theme of this reading vlog should be my getting back into reading vlog. And hopefully in the meantime I'll be able to post a video that's kind of like in my intro to 2023 series or something like that. So like my most anticipated releases and everything like that. And I am so behind on the new releases so far this year. I haven't gone to a bookstore since I think before Christmas, I think. And I miss book shopping, quite honestly. Where the heck is my concealer? So yeah, quite honestly, I really miss going book shopping, but right now I'm trying to concentrate on the books that I have and that I haven't read yet. So that's what we're currently doing. That's where I'm currently at. And I didn't vlog last weekend because it has been so hectic at work. It was a weekend like I haven't seen in a really long time. Like yesterday, we were so swamped. And at work, we call that like the February effect, because a lot of people actually think that like the critical period for people with like mental health issues is like during the holidays or straight after the holidays. And believe it or not, it's kind of like in February and March. We are currently experiencing that in full swing at the moment, and it has been keeping us very busy. And on top of that, our software that we use to, you know, input all of our counseling sessions and like just stuff like that, if there's like people that we need to call back and stuff, that system hasn't been working since Friday. So it's been a lot of chaos at work. And quite honestly, they've been some of like the most busy and chaotic shifts I've had in a long time. So my energy this past weekend has been at an all-time low. So instead of like forcing myself to read, even though I wanted to, I was just too tired to, I just rested, I slept, and I relaxed when I wasn't at work. So I haven't read much, but that being said, I did make some progress in the change, and I am now currently halfway through, and I am enjoying this a lot. I think that this story is so original, and I am kind of excited to see the direction that the author's going to take us on in this mystery of who is killing teenage girls in this community. And there's also a pattern in this book that every single time we meet a new female character, we get a chapter on her past and her upbringing or the trauma that she had in her life, and that kind of explains the person that she is currently. And that's like a little ick that I have, that every single female character that we meet has a traumatic backstory. And yes, I know that realistically, a lot of women have gone through traumatic experiences, like with men or with like being assaulted or whatever, but I just feel that it gets kind of redundant in this book in particular. Like I said, I really do enjoy this story, and I think that I much prefer the mystery storyline, like the chapters we get in between the throwback chapters to these female characters, because I feel like that's more the reason that I read this book instead of it being like an essay on women's traumas. So like I was explaining, that's kind of like my little ick with this book, and it's not anything major that it makes me feel like I'm not enjoying the book. I am just more focused on the mystery storyline because that's what I am mainly here for. That's like the main reason that I'm reading this book. My opinions on this book is making me very interested to go and read reviews of this book, like on Goodreads or Storygraph, once I have finished it, because I kind of want to see if other people have had like the same thought processes as I am currently having while reading this book. Because like I said, the story and the premise is so interesting, but I feel like sometimes, and I'm really saying sometimes, and I'm not like saying this as like a heavy critique or anything, I feel like the author is trying a little too hard in the throwback chapters to pass a message about women going through trauma, women living through like assaults and stuff like that. Because like I said, it is a reality that most women have lived through some type of assault in the past, and I mean, it is justified because it is like an ongoing social issue, especially like in the recent years with like the Me Too movement and everything, which I think I have already talked about. But yeah, I kind of feel like this book is like part fiction, part non-fiction, like social justice memoir type of thing. That's the feeling I'm getting from this book. And like I said, I am enjoying the main story far more than those other chapters, so I think for right now it kind of outweighs those like little negative icks that I have with this book. So as of right now, like I am pleasantly surprised. I'm enjoying this and I am excited to see where the author is going to take us for the resolution of this mystery. For the rest, however, I'm not quite sure. I don't really have that many expectations. And the fun part is today is Monday, so I'm going to be working with my book bestie and we are currently reading this together, so she will be able to share her input with me and also with you guys. She has accepted to share some of her thoughts on camera for the vlog, which I'm so happy about and I'm so excited. So yeah, that's where I'm currently at. I haven't read more of the other people. I might pick up that book later though, depending on like how crazy work is tonight. So I will keep you guys updated on like, you know, what I'm doing during my shift. I do have like some studying to do because my midterms are starting tomorrow already. It's like, it's insane. But yes, so my midterms are already starting and I am trying to keep myself afloat with like the balance between work and studying and reading and stuff like that. I have like a to-do list of things that I need to do, so I'm going to try and like stay on top of that. But I will definitely like pick up the camera and vlog. So that's where I'm currently at. That's what's happening. I'm going to finish getting ready. It's the first time in a really long time that I've done my makeup and I am not gonna lie, I'm feeling myself today. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling rested. Like last night I finished work later than I normally do because like I said, it was so hectic at work. So I'm giving myself a little much needed TLC and I feel really good about it. So I'm gonna go finish my makeup. I'm not doing anything too crazy. I just want to brighten up my face and make me seem a little bit more awake. I feel really good today, but my face doesn't. So that's what's going on. I don't even know what time it is. It's somewhere between 2:15 and 2:30, so I have to leave soon. So I'm gonna finish getting ready and I will talk to you guys once I'm at work. Look who I have here!
Hi everyone!
So we're alone in this spacious office. So as you all know, when Amir and I together, shenanigans happen.
And like always.
So we just ordered ourselves some entrees for dinner. We got like mozzarella sticks and 2 types of french fries because that's the type of person that we are. We also have like some pizza here that we're going to have for dinner and like it's going to be a whole thing. So I obviously brought my book. It's currently 7 p.m. so we're about halfway through our work shift and Amira also has her book, but I'm a little disappointed because this girl hasn't started hers yet.
But I will one day, but I will.
One day? Okay, so yes, I'm currently very much ahead of her in this buddy read. So I might slow down on this because I don't want to forget like my thoughts and stuff that I want to like discuss with her. And I mean, that's also another reason why I do these reading vlogs, because I tell you guys about my thoughts, so it's kind of like a video diary to myself and to you about my thoughts while reading a book. But yes, I'm gonna slow down on reading this book for a little while until she starts it and gets about to where I am, so we can have stuff to discuss together. But yeah, so currently at work, about halfway through the shift. Dinner's on its way. I was studying a little bit earlier, but I think I'm going to take a break now, probably. But if I get more reading done today, I will tell you, but I just wanted to pop on like I said I would, and for this one to say hi.
Wait, can you see me?
Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna go and we'll talk to you guys later. So this one picked up the book, read 2 sentences, and put it back down.
Oh my god, not today.
Motivation is low, people.
But I will read it, I swear.
You better. You better.
I will.